All right, so you ready to dive right in?
Yes,
All right, Cristina. So I understand that you own an off-market real estate company.
I do. Yes.
So tell us about that company. Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, so it's an off-market company. I actually started it about 11 months ago now. It started with just me by myself, and now we grew it to four others. What we do is we basically buy lists, and from that list, we normally target sellers who have some kind of equity. And our only marketing strategy right now is cold calling. So we call everyone and we just ask them, hey, are you interested in selling? And then if they say yes, then we tailor different options for them, whether it's cash offer, owner finance, innovations, or if it's creative finance as well, or listing it on the market. So we offer all of those strategies for them and we tailor it to what works best with sellers.
So you said it's you and four people, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're the owner, you started the
Yes.
company. You said 11 months ago.
Yes.
So you said your strategy is cold calling. Where do you, if you don't mind, where do you pull the numbers from?
Yes, so we use PropStream a lot. That's the one that we normally use. And we're so very generic and general about what is it that we pull. Like again, it's just pretty much just vacant property that where the actual owner doesn't reside in, and then that they've had it for over 10 years. So it has equity. That's it.
And you only work with sellers, you don't work with buyers.
I work, well, yeah, I work with both indirectly because whenever we have a deal and like, let's say it's a good deal for owner finance or for cash, then
Mhm.
that's when I would present it to all of the investors. And then like, for example, the ones that I don't take on personally, then I'll blast it out to my investors and see if they're open to buying that property.
So you mainly work with investors. You don't really work with like regular home buyers, do you?
With regular home buyers, no, but just recently, one of our biggest exit strategies is working a lot with realtors. So they have your traditional retail buyers, and
Hmm.
so any retail buyer that is, like, for example, they don't want a new build and they want like an older house, maybe a little bit discounted. Like they like to move a lot or whatever the case may be, where
Right.
they have some equity already walking in. Those are our targeted retail buyer clients.
Very interesting. Okay. So what inspired
Mhm.
you to open up this company?
So when I first started, I wanted to be in real estate. I just knew that I didn't want to be like an agent, specifically. So I was like, okay, what else could I do in real estate? That's not exactly that. And so that's when I got into like the off market world, and that's just how it started.
So you're mainly calling for sale by owners, is that true?
No, no, literally anyone who has equity. For sale by owners is a great market, but we don't even touch that. We just do anyone who has some equity.
And you said 11 months, right?
Mhm.
So this is still your first year because I always love asking about the first year because the first year is almost always the hardest. So I'm sure it's been pretty rough for you in the past 11 months, hasn't it?
I think the first 6 months were a little bit rough. I think once I started getting the momentum, and I knew it was, once I realized what the KPIs were in order to get a contract. So out of 10,000 records, we normally get about 1 to 3 deals out of it. So
Wow.
once I learned that, I knew, yeah. So once I learned that, I knew that the KPIs to calling each day, me and my team had to call 1,000 people every single day in order for us
1,000
to
a
make this
day?
work.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's a lot of calls, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that's what worked. And I mean, since then, since we started getting that contract, I mean that consistency, we've closed well over 14 deals.
Wow.
So we, yeah, and we are aiming. We have a few in the pipeline that are listed right now, so we are aiming to close over 20 on the first year.
So it just goes to show how hard the first year is because 1,000 a day is a lot, and that's probably like 5, 6 days a week, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that just goes to show how hard the first year is, and I'm sure that the more you progress, the less you got to do that because 1,000 calls a day is a lot of calls.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
walk us through a normal day in your shoes. What time do you wake up? Coffee or tea? Walk us through a normal day, Christina.
Sure, sure. So I typically wake up around 5 or 6 a.m. and
Wow.
then I go to the gym. And then by 9 a.m., I have a morning huddle with my team. So from 9 to 9:30, we talk about the deals, what we're discoing, what are the warm and hot leads that we need to target. Then from 9:30, then I do any TC work, any admin work, any dispo work, follow up with everyone. And then from 3 to 6:30 is when I make my dials. So now I'm no longer cold calling anymore because I have my team doing that. But now I focus strictly on warm and hot leads.
Interesting. And where do you get those from?
The warm and hot leads.
Yeah.
So once my cold caller, so we put the 10,000 records on a dialer. So the dialer dials about 1 to 3 people per time. And so then whenever my team speaks to someone who wants to sell, then they pass it over to our CRM, and that's where I get that lead from.
And which CRM do you use?
I use Lofty.
Oh, Chime. Okay. So yeah,
Mhm.
I had it, but I left it. So Christina, what is your favorite thing about being a CEO?
My favorite thing is, I would say, the problem solving of it all.
Mm.
Because that's literally all that I do now, right? If my team has a question, I solve it. If any aspect of the business has a problem, then it's up to me to solve it. I think that and the leadership aspect of it all, growing the team, managing the team, and just having that great culture in the business is what drives me.
Are you still hiring new people or are you done hiring for now?
I think shortly we're going to be hiring one more before the end of the year.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Christina, what is your least favorite thing about being a CEO?
I think the least favorite thing is, I'm going to be honest, your business, or at least how I see it, my business will never work harder than me. So I always have to be the one working hard, because the CEO sets the tone, especially if you're very involved in your business, then
Mhm.
you set the tone for everyone else.
Yeah,
That's the
so
toughest part.
it's kind of like a good and bad thing being the leader, right? But yeah, I've always, I've ran several different businesses, but I've never had employees. So, and I've always wanted them, but at the same time, I know that having employees can be really, really tricky, because they're constantly calling you and you have to be nice and assertive at the same time. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what is it like being a boss and having grown adults as employees and like, juggling that like that nice and assertiveness at the same time? Tell us about that.
So I think it all comes down to culture. So my all of my team is not in the US. They're VA. So they work from Egypt. Yeah. And so, like, as far as just creating that, it just comes down on who you hire and whether they fit the culture or not. So my team, I just want to make sure that we're all go-getters, that this is what we want. It just makes things easier. Everyone has different personalities, so you need to be like a, what is it, like a gecko, and
Mhm.
you need to kind of filter yourself into those different types of personalities. Some are more analytical, some are a lot more passionate, emotional, whatever it is. So I think just hiring the right people that fits you and tailors you and your business is key.
And do they all have different roles or do they all play the same role?
So I have my girl who she's pretty much like my right hand. So we tackle a lot of things together in all parts of the business. I have
Mhm.
one manager who calls everyone, all the warm leads with me. And then I have a cold caller who we will train to be acquisitions in the near future. So everyone has different roles. But all in all, we can all do the same thing, right? We can all cold call, which is one of the most tedious things because we have to talk to so many people per day. So.
Yeah, 1,000 a day. I'm still getting over that number. So, what do you think is the key to good cold calling? Because, a lot of people don't know how to talk on the phone. What do you think is the key?
Right. I think one of the biggest questions, especially that I get from agents, is that, like, how do you get rid of that cold call jitter, right? Because you feel, all of us feel like we're interrupting someone's day. They don't want to talk to us. We seem kind of pesky. So that feeling that you seem kind of pesky is never going to go away. Like, it's
Yeah.
not. It's just you get so repetitive and you do it so much that you start learning how to do it more successfully to where you people want to do business with you and they are open to hearing you out.
Now, once they show that they're not too interested, let's just say they tell you they're not interested. How do you respond to that? Do you keep probing or do you say, okay, well, have a nice day? How do you respond to them not being interested?
So if they're not interested, we ask them, okay, Mr. Seller, I completely understand. Would you be interested in maybe in the next 6 months? And if they say no, then we just go ahead and tell them, hey, no problem. We'll go ahead and just take you off our list. And then we don't call them back until, if we recycle the list till then.
Yeah, that's a good answer because sometimes if you post too much, then you get annoying and then they block your number and this and that. Christina, do you work with commercial real estate as well?
I do. I started getting into it.
Hmm.
So far, we've had two commercial lots that we're moving right now. One,
Wow.
hopefully, we're closing in about 8 months. I'm sorry, 8 days. So, yeah, dabbling into that as well.
I would imagine that your business probably took a lot of capital to start the business, no?
So here's the thing with cold calling, in my in my opinion, it is the highest ROI that grants the highest ROI for and it's the least expensive marketing strategy. So in order for you to be able to do it, I would say that you would need to put in at least about 2,500 to 3,000 a month
Into what? Into marketing?
into marketing, right? Because this is all a marketing game. So you need to buy the list, you need to get the dialer, and then you need to cold call every single one of them. So with that, with the list and skip tracing, that's the most expensive part. So you're going to be spending about 2,500 to 3 grand. But then from that, I mean, it grants you like assignment fees anywhere from 10 to 50,000, somewhere around those lines. So
Wow.
you're not spending that much to get that return of investment back.
Yeah, but you still got to spend money to make money because a lot of people don't have that 2,500 a month. So that's
You know, when I first started, I had very little money and I didn't have good credit at all. So it was very difficult for the banks to even give me any money or any personal credit card. So when I first started, I did not have much going for me. I probably had about 2 grand, maybe 2,500 just to make it work. And it was to the point where nothing was working and I defaulted on my mortgage one month because I just couldn't afford it. So yeah, so it took a lot of resilience to get there. Do I recommend starting with no money? Hell no. But I do recommend having some reserves and maybe seeing it like in 6 months, you're not going to make any money and you're going to be spending about 2 to 3 grand per month. But can you do it? Yes. Is it possible? Yes, but it is very stressful.
Yeah, I mean, I can already imagine because the thing is, you're spending that money whether you close or not, whether you,
Right.
like whether anything happens or not, you're spending that money. But I would also imagine that having your real estate license would give you some advantages, wouldn't it? Like access to MLS. Wouldn't having your license give you some advantages?
Yes, yes, it will because access to the MLS it's a very good thing. But when you have resources and you have relationships with other agents, they can give you all of that information. For
Yeah.
example, this is what we're doing in Houston. In 6 months, I've granted my Houston realtors 16 listings. And we're copying and pasting this in Austin and Dallas to
Mhm.
where I build relationship with realtors where they send me everything that I need. And in return, I give them the listing.
Oh, so it's like a win-win situation. So are all of your employees realtors?
No, none of them.
Oh, none of them are realtors.
No.
But wouldn't so nobody on the team is a realtor. That's very interesting. Hmm. But you would hire a realtor though.
Well, no, because for example, in Houston, I have a realtor. His name is Michael G, who he does all of our listings for it. So it's kind of like it's not really like I'm hiring any realtors because it's kind of that like symbiotic relationship that I have with them.
Hmm. But
Yeah.
it would it wouldn't save you money because obviously you split commissions with him, obviously. So if you were
Right.
a realtor or if one of your employ if you were a realtor, wouldn't that save you that commission split?
It would. Yeah, it would. I think it would. It's just I don't know. That's always a question. It's like, should I get it? Should I not? Like, it's always a question. But yeah, to answer your question, it really would. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's make sure Michael doesn't hear this. Uh,
I go get my license right now.
so so I know you said 11 months. How has
Mhm.
the real estate market changed since you first started, or has it not really changed too much?
Honestly, it has not. And I think that's like, I used to think, man, like this sucks because everyone had a great year 2021, 2022, up to 2023. I was like, man, if I would have started earlier, I would have like made so much money. But
Yeah.
the truth is, a lot of people now in this market, and I hear it a lot that people say it's a quote unquote hard market.
Yeah.
I don't see it because I don't know any better. So I just know that this is what works now, and maybe when the market gets not so hard, it'll be even easier. But yeah, it has since I started, it hasn't really changed much.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine it getting easier, all depending on the
Hmm.
market, but it's tough because get buying a home gets harder and harder every single year. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that affects your business. So do you put money into Facebook and Instagram ads?
Now I do. And I just started. So I started about 3 weeks ago. And I post on my Instagram. I post every day on my story and about 3 posts per week, and I boost two of them. And since then, it's granted me 300 new followers in about
Wow.
3 weeks. Mhm.
Yeah, I know a realtor. I was speaking to a realtor the other day named Grace, and she was telling me that 100% of her leads comes in through Instagram and Facebook, and she has like 30,000, over 30,000 followers. So I would
That's the
imagine that you
goal.
have the type of business where if you had a lot of followers, I'm sure it would help a lot, and maybe you'll be able to put the phone down if you had 30,000 followers. I'm sure that would help a lot. No?
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
very smart to put money into ads. Christina, tell us about one unforgettable experience you've had in your career. I know it's only been 11 months. Have you had any
Mhm.
unforgettable experiences yet?
Yes. Yes.
Tell us
I've
about
actually, so I think the hardest, so I guess my experience is probably my most difficult deal, right? This difficult deal was like, it was just hardship after hardship after hardship. At the beginning, it was like, all right, they wanted a certain amount. The only way to be able to net that certain amount was to put it on the market. So I said, I'll do all the repairs, whatever we net after this, then I keep and you keep that full amount. And they said, perfect. Well, there was a family member living there, and he made it very difficult for agents to go in and see the house. He'd run them off in their underwear. It
it.
was just a huge mess. And then once we got a buyer, finally, they went to go do that last walkthrough. Well, they left the dog there.
Really?
And then, yes, they left the dog there. So I had to call and be like, hey, you need to get the dog. So they ended up coming back and getting the dog. Then after that, they left a lot of food there, and it didn't have AC for a while, the house did. So it stunk, and the buyers were like, come on. So I had to hire someone to go clean it, take out everything.
Oh my.
And then finally we got to the closing period. Now, so that one was, and it took something that should have taken like 60 days max, took us about 3 to 4 months just because
Oh
of
man.
everything that we ran into. Yeah, yeah. But
And that's
that
the
was,
thing. That's the thing
yes,
about being a CEO. You're gonna have a million problems, like, and the thing is, the more your business grows, the more problems you're gonna have. So the truth is, like, for the people that are listening, for the people that are thinking about starting a new company, you're gonna have a lot of problems. You're gonna have a lot of bumps in the road, and
yep,
the bumps don't go away. If anything, they're just more and more bumps added. So
that's
so
right.
yeah. So but I'm sure that you learned a lot in the past 11 months. What is something that you would tell yourself 11 months ago? What would you tell yourself?
Honestly, in order to get to where I'm at now, I would have told myself to track my KPIs sooner rather than later. Because if you don't track what you don't respect, right? Or you don't respect what you don't track. So
Mhm.
in order, once I saw the pivoting point, it was when I knew that we had to make $1,000 a day, that I knew we had to buy 10,000 records per month. And and that's what changed everything. It's that consistency, that always showing up. And I know it sounds cliche because everyone says that. But really, like if you really dial in and you look at all the numbers and then you reflect each month, that's what's going to guarantee success.
Interesting. And I'm sure that 11 months from now, there's going to be something that you wish you told yourself, that we
Oh, absolutely.
we never stop learning. So I'm going to assume that you have an LLC.
I do.
Is it an S corp?
No,
Okay, and I'm going to
no,
assume you have,
it,
you have an accountant as well.
no.
Oh, no
Maybe I
account.
should have done that.
Well,
No
it's not too
accountant.
late, but so then you do all of the work yourself, all of the paperwork, all of that quarterly. You do that all yourself.
No. Maybe this is something that I'm going to tell myself 11 months later of what I should have done. But no,
Right.
I don't do anything. I got my LLC through LegalZoom. So LegalZoom has all that documentation.
Uh-huh.
And I just have my business account to where everything kind of monitored as to what goes in, what goes out, what I pay for. But besides that, nothing else.
Oh, so how do you do your quarterly? sales?
I just base it, we just have an Excel sheet and we just know what deals have closed and what has been generated.
I see, I see. All right.
Hmm.
Do you think the interest rates and home prices will lower anytime soon?
I don't think anytime soon. Maybe like, especially with it being election year and all the changes, I would probably say maybe 1 to 2 years from now. Um, but that's just my a wild guess.
Yeah, well, the interest rates did just recently drop, so that's kind of a good thing. Do you
Do you
prefer?
think do you think it's gonna keep dropping?
Probably not. I mean, it already just dropped.
Yeah,
Hopefully it does keep dropping. But even if it does drop, then the home prices might go up. So
that's right.
for the people that are listening, just buy as soon as you can because it's not getting
I,
any easier out here. Um,
I agree.
do you prefer to work with buyers or sellers?
My whole business model is with sellers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Uh, Christina, what is your long-term plan?
My long-term plan is so I kind of reach for the stars, but it's fine. So my long-term plan is to have my off-market business just be a sales machine to where I'm not so involved in it anymore and maybe have my girl become the CEO of it. And eventually what I want to do is I want to buy businesses like kind of like how we do it with retail home. I'm sorry, with homes. It's the same thing is what I want to do with businesses. Like maybe like a struggling business that they want to kind of exit, but instead of just them closing shop, I can give them some money for it and then kind of start running it and just doing the copy and paste of what I did in this business to that business. But yeah, that's the goal.
Is there a goal as far as like amount of employees? How many employees do you want to have?
So here's the thing with the amount of employees, I don't think you need to have like 20, 30 people in order to be successful. I think for us right now, it's just kind of like what we see. Do we have enough business to add someone else? And if we do, we will. But if we don't and we're steady and we're good, we're not. I would say probably I would stop at about 6 to 8 employees max.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, you say that now, but once you're there, you might want more. That's how it happens, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Just to let you know, you're the first person, you're the first CEO that I spoke to. So, this is a very, very interesting topic to me. Because I've always wanted to start my own company, and I have, but I never had employees. Christina, do you think that people today should buy or rent?
I think people today should buy.
Why is that?
100%. Because when you rent, there's no way that you can get something out of it. And so here's the thing. With my business, what I look for is I look for discounted homes, even slightly discounted homes. And this is something that I wish I knew beforehand because I bought my property market value with the realtor, my first primary home 2 years ago. And so now that I bought another duplex in Houston that I'm going to move out into, I don't have enough equity in these 2 years to be able to sell it and actually make sense for me to do so.
Mhm.
So if I would have known what I know now, and I know that I move a lot, I would buy a discounted home that I walk into that doesn't need many major repairs. I walk into, I already have equity. So if this came up in 2 years, I'd be fine at sale, make a quick little 30, $50,000 and then move on to my next project.
Interesting. Right. You just got
Hmm.
to keep going. So what did you do
Exactly.
before this?
I was a branch manager at Enterprise, the rent a car.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what happened with that?
Well, I mean, you work so much at Enterprise. You really do. I mean, that job really taught me how to be a great leader. I 100% give that to them. They really did. They were so great at that, building a culture and everything. But as far as like work life balance, it wasn't really there. And I would just go to work and I'm like, man, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be more out there than this. And then that's when I popped into real estate and that's where we're at now.
So were you juggling both at the same time, or did you just quit cold turkey and oh you were juggling both?
I was. So I was at the very end. Once I started getting into it, I would work from, what was it, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Enterprise. And then I'd go home, eat. And then from around 6 to 6:30 to about 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'd make dials.
And
And then it was to the,
that's when you started the 1,000 calls a day.
well, no, after I left, because I locked up some deals just by doing that. So I honestly thought it was going to be a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah.
And so then when I left and I wasn't closing, I was like, what the hell, you know? And so then that's when I started like picking it up some. And that's when I started dialing the 1,000 people a day
Do you cold call on the weekends too?
on Saturdays.
Not Sundays.
No, not Sunday. Sundays is the Lord's day.
Interesting. And I looked it up on Google, and Google was saying that the best time to cold call is between like I think like 11 and 12 and also like not on the weekends. And because I cold call too. I'm a realtor. What do you think is like the best time? Like which time do you get the best luck with? Is it in the morning? Is it in the evening? Which time do you get the best luck with?
Yeah. I think, and here's the thing too, to add on to that, I think it's a little bit different with realtors versus when you're more off market, because with cold calling, it's specifically, you have to build that relationship. And so it takes time to build that relationship and actually lock up a deal. So as far as cold calling, what I feel, what I've seen that works best is dialing from 9:30 to around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then again from around 4 o'clock to 6:30.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And weekdays tend to work the best, I'm sure, no?
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah.
So Saturdays, I would only dial for about 3 hours, like in the morning from like 9 to 11 or 12, something like that. Saturdays are a lot more light.
And you would call with your personal phone.
With when I cold called, it was with the dialer. Yeah, it
Gotcha.
was with the dialer. Now with my warm and hot leads with my phone.
Interesting. Okay. And
Mhm.
that's essentially how you got your name out there. Cold calling is essentially how you got how you boosted. You don't, I'm assuming you don't door knock.
No, no. And that's a market that I do want to get into though. It's door knocking. Both social media and door knocking are definitely two markets that I want to dive into.
Yeah, I mean it's very easy for me to imagine, let's just say you had 20,000, 30,000 followers on Instagram. It's very easy for me to imagine that helping your business a lot. Like
Right.
I would assume that once you reach a certain point, you won't even have to cold call anymore. Once you reach like 50,000 followers, 50,000 real followers on Instagram, you probably won't even have to cold call anymore at that point.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I can see that, because then people will start messaging you, and that just seems to be how it works. Christina, do you have any tips for new people who might want to open up their own business? Obviously a lot of people, it's the American dream to be a CEO like you. The way I look at it is you're basically living the American dream. So do you have any tips for new CEOs?
I do. I think my biggest tip is that it is going to take a lot longer than you thought, and you're going to have to spend a lot more money than you thought.
Mhm.
So just make sure that you have some reserves and that you'll be okay for, like I said, 6 months. Just 6 months. Give it whatever strategy you use, just do 6 months, and then and then just kind of just go from there. Tailor, pivot, whatever that you need to do. But I think a lot of people give up because they're like, okay, for example, even when I started, I said, oh, I have a couple grand, I'll use that, get a deal, I'll be fine. But that's not how it happened, and I defaulted on my mortgage. I was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? And then after that, I'm like, why is it that I could do this part time when I was still working my W-2? And now that I'm not closing anything. So it just takes a lot of consistency and resilience and a lot of patience.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
cold calling in general takes a lot of persistency because I'm sure you get a lot of FUs, a lot of stop calling my phones. Cold calling in general, like you have to have the mindset of it's 1% chance, but I'm gonna take it. It's 1% chance, but I'm gonna take it.
right,
Every single call, the chance of that leading to a closing is probably less than 1%, but you have to keep doing it over and over and over again. That's the whole nature of cold calling. So
right.
yeah, I mean. Yeah, but to start from the bottom of any business is always really, really tough. Was there a time period where you were in the red and where you invested more than you made and when you were down? Probably in the beginning, right?
Yeah, yeah. Up until like about, I would say maybe yeah, I would say 4 months in, I generated like a little bit. And I'm not even enough for me to be back in the green. It was just enough to be just stable.
So at what point,
So
how long did it take you until you started profiting?
6 months.
Wow. See, that's
Yeah.
because a lot of people they can't go 6 months without. without, like how do you pay the bills? I mean, that's really
Right.
hard, you know? So just for the people listening, like you might have to go a long time. I mean, some people like Amazon, for example, some people go years without profiting, you know? So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, I
For
think
sure.
Amazon went like over 10 years without profiting. So, for the people
Wow.
listening at home, it can be really, really tough. Christina, where can people find you?
They can find me on social media on Instagram, Deals by Tina, or on Facebook, Cristina Enriquez.
I'll put all the links below. Christina, it was so great talking to you.
Great talking to you too. Thank you so much.
Have a good one, Christina. Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.